That day, I was supposed to head to the Fast and Furious driving school with my assistant, Emma. She's about 40 years younger than me, but her mind works like a criminal on the stand, fast, flexible, and always with an angle. Smart, ironic, a bit cheeky, in short, just the kind I need. The mission was simple. A complaint had come in, the instructor was acting strange. The students were spooked, the parents uneasy. They asked us to just take a look, but I already knew, when they say, just look, something always stinks. While I waited for Emma near a coffee shop, the thing I'd long feared happened, a call where words are drowned by the sound of a racing heart. Harry, her voice was broken. After this night, the world would never be the same. I'm not coming. What happened? I just stepped out of my building. Someone grabbed me. Didn't rob me. Didn't hit me. Just cornered me and whispered in my ear, stay out of it. Where you were supposed to be, someone else will go. I froze. Threats don't scare me. But when they come after my people, something old in me wakes up. Rusty, but still running strong. Are you safe? Yes. But, Harry, he knew. He knew where we were going. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a warning. All right. I spoke clearly, without emotion. But in my head, I was already making a list of everyone who'd dare lay a hand on Emma. Stay home. Don't go out. I'll go alone. The Fast and Furious driving school looked like every other 90s building, gray, peeling, tired. Inside, it smelled like vending machine coffee, old tires, and fresh nerves. I walked in like I always do. Calm. Slightly casual. But every muscle was on edge. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with a face that could tell you more than any police database, looked at me coldly, suspiciously. You with the police? No, worse. Private detective. And I'm looking for answers you probably have tucked under your desk. Her face changed. This about Maxim. Who's he? The instructor. Disappeared yesterday. Just didn't show up. Phone's off. And, she lowered her voice, one of the girls was in tears after his class. Said she never wanted to see him again. Her parents are starting to ask questions. You go to the police. You do realize half this town is related, right? Inspectors, officials, minibus drivers. Who wants to tarnish their family name? I wrote everything down. In stories like this, the details are traps for the truth. And I already knew, the game of survival had begun. I walked down the hallway. Students sat on benches, waiting their turn. One guy was glued to his phone. A girl had shaking hands. Her eyes met mine, and I knew right then, she'd seen something that wouldn't let her sleep. I sat beside her. Quietly, like a human being. I'm Harry. And you can trust me. If something happened, tell me. I'll make sure no one else gets hurt. She inhaled. I saw Maxim stay behind with a girl after class. She didn't want to. I'm sure of it, she was trying to leave, and her voice cracked, and the next day, he disappeared. The silence that fell between us was heavier than any sentence. I stood up. The investigation had only just begun. But already it was clear, this wasn't just odd behavior. This was darkness disguised as education. And if someone tried to scare Emma, it meant I'd already stepped on the wrong toes. And I like it when the pain lands not on the innocent, but on those who hide in the shadows. This time, no one's getting away. I stepped out of the driving school building feeling as if I'd walked straight into a trap, one I still had no idea how to get out of. Outside, everything looked as ordinary as ever, cars rolled past, students smoked on the benches, and the instructor was loudly telling someone on the phone how yesterday's girl had no clue where the brakes were. But I already knew, somewhere around here, someone was watching. And they'd already sent me a warning through Emma. I decided to check out the training lot where beginners had their first driving lessons. A shabby patch of ground with a few traffic cones, painted lines, and an old, scratched-up car standing off to the side. It caught my eye right away, not because there was anything special about it, but because no one was using it, even though the school was always short on vehicles. I walked closer. The windows were dusty, the hood streaked with rain marks and old bird droppings. But the key was still in the lock. If someone had really wanted to hide it, they wouldn't have left the key there. I opened the door. The interior was empty, except for a photo lying on the floor. An old, faded picture. A girl, about 17. A strange smile. On the back, just a single letter, K. I slipped the photo into my pocket. That's when something flickered in the corner of my vision, a sign that hadn't been there an hour ago. Standing behind the school, next to an old concrete path leading into the field. Red background, white arrow. Brand new, freshly put up. And someone clearly wanted me to see it. Of course, I went. The path turned into a narrow trail, and then disappeared completely into the grass. It reached up to my knees, thin but trampled in places. Someone had walked here. Recently. I moved slowly, each step like pulling a trigger. A few meters on, I spotted something metallic glinting in the undergrowth. I bent down, a fragment of the driving school's badge, chipped at the edge. Next to it, a button. And, a footprint. Light, almost worn away. But definitely not mine. I was about to turn back when I heard it. A sound, soft, drawn out. Like someone exhaling right into my ear. I spun around. No one. But I already knew, the next step would take me to where it all began. And maybe, to where it all ends. I stood in the grass, staring at the footprint that disappeared further into the field. It was faint, as if someone had deliberately scuffed it out, blending it into the dirt so no one could follow. But I kept going, because sometimes the loudest scream hides in the deepest silence. My phone buzzed. Not a call, a message. You're close. Don't make a mistake. The number was anonymous. No way to reply. The air suddenly turned cold. I looked around, nothing. Even the birds had gone quiet. I kept walking, another 50 meters along the trail in the grass. And then I saw it, a small shack, like an old guard post. From a distance, just a heap of metal. Up close, shattered windows and rotting doors. But someone was inside. Hey! I called. Silence. I pulled the door open, a creak like someone grinding their teeth. Then, movement in the corner. A young man. About 20. Hair a mess, skin pale as plaster. His trembling hands clutched a plastic bottle. Don't touch me, he cried. I saw it all, I didn't tell anyone. Anyone. Calm down. I'm not the police. My name's Harry. I'm investigating what happened to Instructor Maxim. Did you see him? He nodded, eyes wide and cornered like a trapped deer. He brought a girl here. To this car. The one parked on the training lot. There was something wrong with her face. She was crying. You're sure? I was hiding here. I live here, well, for now. I didn't get involved. But then I heard a scream. And a sound, like something being shut. The trunk, maybe. What day was this? The night before he disappeared. I pulled out the photo of the girl from the car. The boy's face drained of color. That's her. That's her. But after that night, no one saw her again. And him. Maxim, he never came back. I left the shack without a word. My legs carried me back to the car on the lot. I opened the trunk. Empty. But under the spare tire, a scrap of fabric, soaked in something dark. Back in town, I headed for the driving school. Not inside, to the instructor's parking lot. And there I saw it, another car, same model as the one in the field, but with different plates. I walked up. Doors locked. But on the mirror, a symbol drawn in lipstick. The same one from the sign behind the school. A circle with a line through it. My phone rang again. Number unknown. I answered. And heard breathing. A woman's. Harry, her voice trembled. If you're still digging, stop. He's not just a teacher. He's not alone. There are, several of them. It's a club. They have their own lessons after hours. And the girls they choose, don't come back. Who are you? A former student. I ran away. And I won't say more. Click. The line went dead. I stood in the middle of the lot. And suddenly I understood, this wasn't about a missing instructor. This was a chain. And somewhere at the other end, someone was pulling the strings. The next day, I decided to go back to Emma. She'd been silent all this time. But when I called, her phone was off. I drove to her apartment. The door was open. Inside, empty. On the table, a single sheet of paper. One sentence. She knew too much. I stood in Emma's apartment. The silence was thick, the kind that seemed to swallow sound. The table where the note lay was covered with a tablecloth, stained with coffee. And next to it, a ball. Small, rubber. The kind Emma always rolled between her hands when she was nervous or deep in thought. It wasn't just a trinket. It wasn't supposed to be here. She never left it at home. It was a sign. Her signal. I sat down. For the first time since this all began, I sat. And I listened. There was something else in the room, a faint sound. I opened her drawer. Inside were headphones plugged into a recorder. I pressed play. Her voice came through. If you're listening to this, Harry, it means they've found me. I knew there'd be a risk. But I couldn't stop. I found something, worse than we thought. Silence. Then her voice again. In the driving school's garage, there's a basement. The entrance is hidden behind the tool cabinet. No one goes there during the day. They took girls down there. Held their lessons. You need to go down there. Everything's there. The recording cut off. I sat, fists clenched. My head buzzed, not with anger, but with the realization that there was no time left. I reached the driving school at exactly 1 p.m. Lunch break, the place nearly empty. The parking lot cameras were working, but I knew where they were. I slipped around, out of sight. Went in through the back. The garage. Gray. Silent. Inside, piles of tools, old hoods, oil stains. I found the cabinet, heavy, metal. I shoved it aside. Underneath, a hatch. Closed, but not locked. I opened it. The smell hit instantly. Damp, metal, fear. I climbed down. The basement was narrow, coffin-like, but deep. There were rooms. Empty. And one, bolted shut. I unlatched it. On the floor, chains. On the wall, photos. Black and white, grainy. Girls. The same faces I'd seen on the missing list. They had all been here. And documents. Lists. Code names. Dates. Someone had kept meticulous records. Someone had been running this for years. It wasn't one instructor. It was a system. A club, like the girl on the phone had said. In the corner, a phone. Recording video. Still running. I stepped closer, opened the latest file. On the screen, Emma. Alive. "Harry," she said straight to the camera. "I knew you'd find this. You always do. They didn't kill me. But they made me stay quiet. For now. If you're watching this, you're close. But be careful. They're not working alone. They have protection." Suddenly, a scream. The recording ended. I left the basement with all the evidence. But I knew the police wouldn't be enough. The real names were hidden behind other faces, instructors, administrators, maybe even parents. I filed a report. Sent everything through my old contacts. Through journalists I could still trust. The next day, the driving school was shut down. The garage sealed. But more importantly, they found another teenager in the basement. Alive. Shaken. Silent. And a day later, they found Emma. In the forest. She was weak, but alive. Escaped when one of them decided it was all over. She sat in the ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, holding that same ball in her hands. When she saw me, she smiled. Just barely. But it was real. "I knew you'd come," she said. "You always do." A month later, the case went to court. Several arrests. Others vanished. But all the documents were already in the media. The story was out. I sat at home, drinking black coffee. In my headphones, Emma's recording. And though the case was officially closed, I knew that darkness was still breathing somewhere nearby. But at least this time, we'd seen it. And made it go quiet.